So you started playing Feed the Beast Infinity Evolved on 1.7.10, and you're tired of your inventory looking like this. And you go back home, and you've just got chests littering the fields everywhere. You can't find anything. You spend more time looking in chests than actually doing anything, and you want to upgrade your inventory system. So what you can do is create a system that lets you use these ender pouches that you can just deposit all your items remotely from anywhere in the world. They link up to an ender chest, and then you can use this remote control to access that same inventory that allows you to request items in any quantities you want and have them delivered to you instantly. So let's say we want a few redstone blocks, we want a stack of diamonds, a couple pieces of steak, and then they just show up in this other pouch. So to get started on this, all you really need is to start building storage drawers. Let me toss these items real quick back into our system. So you can start with the really basic stuff and then later upgrade it to the more complicated things with all of the tech upgrades basically of the piping system. So to begin with, just build a wall of storage drawers. A lot of people aren't a big fan of these to begin with because they only store one item type in each of these drawers, and you have to kind of wander around to collect your items and everything. But the way that we build the system overcomes that limitation very quickly because we install a controller block, this drawer controller, that allows you to deposit items to the entire wall of chests just by right-clicking on this block. So if you've already got stuff in all your drawers and you just want to unload from your mining run or whatever, you just come right-click on this drawer controller and it'll put all of the additional copies of anything you already have in your wall away. And then as we upgrade the system, with all the pipes and everything, they interact with this controller block, and we're able to push and pull items through that controller block and never actually interact with the drawers directly anymore. And we have this nice searchable interface and everything to sort our items. We can sort them in, by size, item ID, name, whatever. So to get started on that part, well, actually before that, I'll explain a little bit of how the storage drawers work at a basic level. So you want to get the controller and all the drawers. The controller will attach to drawers up to 12 blocks away in any direction, so that's the maximum height there of 12 blocks. You can also expand it 12 blocks to either side. So you can actually have a massive wall with a ton of storage space. You can also upgrade the drawers to store more items. So if you sneak and right-click, it brings up this upgrade interface, and you can install these storage upgrades. These are the maximum size ones, and with a full set of those, it gives you 2,080 stacks of that item type. Usually you only want to do that for things you're going to collect a ton of, like ores, ingots, things like that. And then you can use these smaller ones that split the drawer into quarters, so it's the same number of items stored, but it's a quarter as much of each one. So you can use that for things that you're maybe not going to get too much of. So maybe a more advanced recipe where you had to craft several things to get to that stage, or just something that's really rare. You can also get these compacting drawers that you can input any type of iron here, so iron block, iron ingot, or iron nugget, and it will store them in this compacting drawer, and you can withdraw them in any form you want, and it'll automatically convert between all the forms for whatever you decide to withdraw. You can also left-click to withdraw a stack. Right-click will deposit, and if you just keep right-clicking, it'll deposit all the items of that type. If you sneak-click, you can take one item at a time, so you can quickly get items that way before you get all your other stuff set up. And this will work for any, like you can put coal in here, and it'll just have coal in the coal block. It doesn't have a third type. So to get on with the piping, the first thing you're going to need is a logistics power junction, which provides power to your piping system. And you just need to connect that with some sort of redstone flex wiring to your power system. So I'm just going to use these immersive engineering wires because they automatically will convert between the different types of energy that are in the mod pack, so you don't have to worry about whether it's going to work or not. There's a few others that have restrictions like that. And I'm just using an energy cell here, but this would be whatever generator you have. So if you have a water wheel set up, or just some survival generators early game, or whatever you build into for generating power. And if you're using this thermal expansion interface, keep in mind you have to set the configuration here. So these colors on the faces, the blue is input, orange is output and yellow is disabled. So you're going to want to set, in this example I'm using the top face to pull out of this, so you want it set to orange for output, and then it'll automatically push into here, and you can see this charging up with the logistics power that it uses to move items around in your system. And then you just need some basic logistics pipes. We're going to use a request pipe to start with, but we'll upgrade that later, and a provider logistics pipe. So your controller here needs to have a provider pipe on one face and a basic logistics pipe on another face, and then you can connect that up to your system here. And on straight runs, you can use these golden transport pipes. They're a little bit cheaper to craft. Or you can just do the whole thing with basic pipes like this. It's fine either way. But you do need logistics pipes, whether it's the basic pipe or a request pipe, these other types of pipes, on any of the intersections where you have junctions of more than two directions, or when it's going into a block that does something. That's because the logistics pipe routing is done by these smarter pipes, and these simple basic pipes don't have any of that routing logic, so it kind of breaks the system if you try to use these on the junctions. And so the provider pipe, what that does is it connects whatever inventory it's connected to your pipe system. So it's going to give access to whatever is in this controller to everything that's on the logistics pipe network. And the controller is giving access to everything that's in the drawers to the rest of the system. So the next thing you need to do is get out your Crescent Hammer. It's simple to craft. You should have one for any of the tech mod stuff's going to need this. You can just right click on the basic logistics pipe that connects directly to the controller, and you can just set the default route to yes. What that does is it treats this as sort of the dumping ground of this system. So whenever an item enters into the system, if there's not something specifically requesting it, it's going to go here. And that's where you want all your items to end up, because this is our main storage system. And we're going to be depositing into and pulling out of the system with some ender chests here in a little bit. So that's really the basic system. You have everything in your storage space hooked up to your pipe system now, and it should be functioning. So all we need now is an interface that allows us to pull out of that system. So we're going to use just the basic request pipe to start with. So you just put the request pipe down, and you can find all the recipes for these pipes in NEI. They're all pretty basic. It's like glass, diamonds, cobblestone, redstone torches, gears, and you can use these chipsets in place of the gears that uses less materials, but they're a little more complicated to make, and I'll explain how to make those here in a minute, because you're going to need them for a lot of things in tech mods in general, so it's good to learn how to make them. But for using the request pipe, once you put it down, you just right-click on it with a wrench, and it brings up this interface that lets you request items. So, if I want 10 pistons, I just select piston. You can use these to increment by 1, by 10, or by a stack. And you request it, and it'll just shoot it out the pipe. And if you put a chest here in front of that, it'll output it into the chest or some other inventory if you don't want it to just pop out onto the ground for you to pick up. So I'm going to go ahead and break that for now, though, because we're going to upgrade that to something better here in a minute. That's just sort of your basic, if you want to use the system right out the gate without doing any more complicated work, you can start using it right away without having to search through your chests anymore. So in order to make those chipsets, you just need an assembly table and a laser, and then hook the laser up to power. And the lasers have to be placed within a few blocks of the assembly table. You can put them on the side, above on a vertical line, or above horizontally. I forget what the radius is, but it's not too far. It's like 5 to 8 blocks, something like that. So you can have like a big wall of lasers. And each laser will consume more power, and they really do hog your power if you make a lot of them. So you're only going to want to have a few to start out with, maybe like 3 to 6 tops for the early power generation you'll be able to provide. And then whenever you put your materials in here, so the chipsets are made with either just plain redstone, or you can add redstone plus gold, redstone plus iron, etc. up to diamond, and I believe there's an emerald one too. And then you just put the materials in here, and then you click on the chipset you want to craft. And then if there's power supplied to the lasers, they'll just turn on and start feeding power in here. You'll see the progress bar go up, and this will go faster the more lasers you have that are fully powered. And then you can select multiple ones, so it'll craft until it runs out of iron, and then it'll start crafting the redstone ones. If you don't, so I have diamond turned on here. If I add a diamond here, it'll start crafting it, and you can also turn them off by just clicking on them here. It'll remove that little border around them. And if you put a chest next to the assembly table, it'll automatically output the results here in the chest or some other inventory, so that they're waiting for you. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is, this is the most impressive thing about what the system does, is the ender chest system. You might want to get the front panel interface first, but it's actually not as good as the ender chest system. So you can build it as just a way to access the system physically when you're at your base, but it's kind of optional in my opinion. You really just want this ender chest system. It is like the amazing part. So to set this up, you just need to get a couple ender chests. I'm going to go ahead and set it up over here and explain it as I go. So you want to put down a couple ender chests. And you'll notice that these are a bit different from the vanilla ones. They have these 3 bars on top. These are color coding for the ender chests. So you can actually have multiple ender chest inventories that are accessed by having different colors coded to them. So we're going to use this pink and yellow dye here to color code our 2 chests differently. One's for input and one's for output. So we're going to put 2 pink on this one and 2 yellow on this one. So this is yellow, white, yellow, and pink, white, pink. And then this one is going to hook up to a remote order logistics pipe. And that's going to be where we request items from our system to be sent to us. And then on this other one, we're going to just put a chassis. And we can just use a Mark 1 chassis. The higher Mark 2, Mark 3 just allows you to put more modules in them. And we only need 1 extractor module in this one. So we can just use a Mark 1 here. It's fine. And if you interact with that one with the Crescent Hammer, then you can put the extractor module in it. And you can find the recipes for these all in the NEI as well. Same kind of deal with the other stuff where it's chipsets or gears. And then the Mark 3 is upgraded from the Mark 2 plus the better chipset or gear. Same thing for going from Mark 1 to Mark 2. And then the Mark 1 is some dye, iron gear, redstone, and this blank module, which is made out of paper, redstone, and gold nuggets. So if you just go through all the steps in NEI, you can press R to show the recipe for the thing you're mousing over. You can kind of just drill down through, you know, this step, this step, this step, this step, down to the simple basic items. Yeah, so you put the extractor module in there, and what that does is it tries to pull items out of this inventory constantly. And the Mark 1 is really slow, so you probably want to go for the Mark 2 card right away. It pulls like 1 item every 5 seconds. The Mark 2 card's quite a bit faster. The Mark 3 pulls like stacks and stacks instantly. So having the Mark 3 is pretty nice because it speeds it up a lot when you're trying to input a lot of items very quickly, like a full inventory worth. And so once you get those attached, you want to make one of these remote order items. They're also very simple to make. It's just, you can dye them whatever color you want. You make them out of chipsets or gears and glass. And then you right-click the order on this remote order logistics pipe, and that will bind them together. And then whenever you connect this to your main system with the pipe, then whenever you use this order, it'll automatically have access to whatever inventories are provided on that network by this provider pipe that we installed earlier. And this basic pipe that we configured for the default inventory is what's going to suck all the items in whenever we deposit them. So that's already set up and working just with that. Just the pipe, hook the orderer up to it, and the ender chest, and color code it. And so if we go ahead and grab an ender pouch, you can attach an ender pouch to an ender chest by sneaking and right-clicking with it, and you'll see it color-coded to the same color combination. We'll do the same thing with this one. So now we have our receiving pouch and our sending pouch. So you can actually get an anvil. I definitely recommend this step. It's optional, but it helps keep you from getting confused at which pouch is which when you're trying to send items back and forth. You could grab an anvil and you can just rename these. So this one will be our receiver. And then this one will be our sender ender pouch. So in our receiver pouch, if we grab this remote order that's synced to this pipe, and we request, say, 10 iron ingots, you'll see they go in the ender chest there, and then when we open this color-coded pouch, they're in there waiting for us. And this pouch will work from anywhere in the world. So you'll notice the chest that's coded to it opens whenever you open the pouch, which is kind of a neat little Easter egg there. So then we just need to hook up the pipe for the our sender pouch. And now whenever we have the sender pouch here, if we chuck our pink dye in here. Oh, whoops. I put it in the wrong pouch. This pouch is synced to that system. Sorry, I need to use the yellow one. So if we put our yellow dye in here, then it automatically deposits in our system, and because these drawers aren't locked, it automatically put it into a new slot here. So yeah, if you use your key, you can right-click to lock all the drawers or unlock all the drawers. If they're all locked or they're all full of stuff, there's no new slots, and you're trying to put a new item in, it won't have anywhere to go, so it'll just fall on the ground. And in order to alleviate that problem and not lose items if you're not paying attention to how much storage space you have left, you can set up a little overflow buffer chest here. You just put a basic logistics pipe down, you set it for the default route just like that one was set on the back side of your controller. So right click with a wrench, default route, and now if this thing has no available spaces, it'll automatically put the items into this iron chest. So right now we have them all locked. So there's no slot for this key, for example. So if we deposit this key, you'll see it goes past there and straight into this chest. So that's a good way to keep your items from falling on the ground if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So yeah, that's really the whole system for the worldwide access to your entire inventory. And whenever you upgrade to an ME system with Applied Energistics later, you can install the same logistics pipe, ender pouch, ender chest system here, this back installation, onto an ME interface instead of a drawer controller, and you can do the exact same thing, having access to all your items anywhere. So this ender pouch system never goes obsolete. It's just amazing throughout the entire game. So you want to get this thing right away because it's just incredible to have access to your whole inventory anywhere you go.